Lake Norman. We are staying at the Lake Norman campground. Lake Norman campground,
which is a state park campground.
State park campground. Beautiful place, guys. If you guys like to camp, hike, boat, fish, any of the above, you definitely need to come here. But what I have recently learned was some very interesting things about Lake Norman. But before I get into the real good nitty-gritty stuff that I learned,
the
juicy stuff, I want to just give just a little basic little tidbits, facts about Lake Norman that maybe you guys were not aware of. Number one, Lake Norman is North Carolina's largest man-made lake with a surface area of 32,510 acres. That is a big lake. Lake Norman was created in the early 1960s when the Duke Power Company dammed the Catawba River to generate hydroelectric power. And so that was when they started this whole thing. Let's see here. The lake is approximately 760 feet above mean sea level. I don't know what that means. It goes MEAN sea level.
No,
I'm not sure.
Than regular sea level?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I'm not. Yeah, is that something different? It says, let's see. Lake Norman boasts more than 520 miles of coastline. That's more coastline than North Carolina and South Carolina combined.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something?
It's got a lot of these little coves. Like this is like a little cove area. There's a lot of these little cove areas.
Yeah, it kind of dips in. If you guys can notice this, it kind of dips in and then it comes right back on out.
It's a lot of that.
Yeah,
the shoreline, very uneven, I guess, shoreline, you'd say.
All right. It says here also, Lake Norman's deepest points are over 100 feet deep. The average depth is only 33 feet. That's interesting. It says approximately, I guess this is going to be, approximately 3,200,000,000 gallons of water fill Lake Norman, weighing approximately 13 million tons.
13,600,000 tons.
Yeah, 13,600,000 tons. That's amazing. Four counties border Lake Norman: Mecklenburg, Catawba, Lincoln, and of course Iredell.
We're in Iredell County right now.
And we are in Iredell. Let's see here. In the late 1990s, get this one. This is really amazing. In the late 1990s, a species of freshwater jellyfish found in the lake baffled scientists. The species was not known to exist in either the Lake Norman or the Catawba River, and they don't know how it got here.
Wow.
Somebody just put, who knows?
That's very interesting.
Which will lead us into some other interesting things here we'll talk about just a little later. Late in 2000, reports of alligators in Lake Norman began to surface. Later that year, video of a 5 to 6 foot alligator in Lake Norman was released to the local news. 2 different alligators were spotted in the lake. No one was able to explain where the creatures came from or my paper, got to flip my paper, or how they were surviving in Lake Norman. The alligators were removed by wildlife officers.
Well, just in case they did not remove all of the alligators, we do not take Finn and Kiki near the water. Just in case.
That's just amazing. That's just incredible to think about that.
We saw some claw prints last night.
Yeah, we saw some claw prints, and if you guys will notice on the screen, I'm going to show you some of those claw marks. I have no clue what they are. If they were just, who knows? I don't know if they were just ducks or geese trying to get up, but they were pretty deep I think they were a little deeper than your average scratches, but anyhow, it could be maybe a beavers. I don't know
Could
if
be a beaver, but still, I don't want to take the chance of anything eating my dog.
Okay, now the following fish can be found in Lake Norman and Catawba River, and that is the black bullhead, black crappie, blue catfish, bluegill, brown bullhead, carp, channel catfish, largemouth bass, perch, rainbow trout, smallmouth bass, striped bass, also called stripers, hybrid striped bass, walleye, white bass, white crappie, and yellow bullhead. And so we'll stop right there, and we're going to continue on the trail, and we'll let you guys know some other little interesting things. All right, we're at another beautiful, really nice spot on the trail. And I see fish here and there. The camera is just you're not gonna see them. But it is gorgeous. And I did see that should be a wood duck home there. And so, but this is a nice little shoreline here. Beautiful little beach. But, with all the different animals and the fish that, you see out here, and some of the fish that I've already told you about, there is one other mysterious creature that is debated amongst some out here on exactly what is it. And in 2002, LakeNormanMonster.com is launched on the internet, and they posed a question: is there a monster in Lake Norman? And so now, whenever you think of lake monsters, you might think of Nessie in the Loch Ness in Scotland, the Loch Ness monster, which they believe could be a plesiosaur. And so now animals along that, they fall into a category of cryptozoology, which means the study of hidden animals. The study of hidden animals. And so that would also include Bigfoot and some other animals. And so a lot of people think, oh, it's just a bunch of nonsense, they don't exist. Well, there's a lot of animals that they thought did not exist that they thought died off, like the plesiosaur they thought died off 65 million years ago. Well, they end up finding some animals that they never even knew existed, that were just kind of folklore and legends amongst the natives in the area. And so I don't want to get into rabbit trailing on that, but Sandra, you got my other paper there. I wanted to give you some information about this unknown animal that that has been sighted out here. They call it Normie. Normie, N-O-R-M-I-E, Normie. The description is often described as long and serpentine with scaly fins or flippers. The creature has been seen by dozens of witnesses, swimmers, fishermen, campers, water skiers, and scuba divers. Descriptions vary in color and size, but it seems people are definitely seeing something large and frightening in the lake. Okay, the information that I have here says there are several theories to explain the Lake Norman monster phenomenon. Some believe the creature is none other than a catfish or gigantic proportions. Others think people are seeing a large fish called a bowfin. Alligators or possibly large salamanders known as hellbenders, which can reach up to 2 feet in length. Of course, the typical prehistoric crocodilian theories abound as well, but most personal favorites is that Normie is a mutant fish created by pollution from the nuclear plant. After all, the lake is man-made, so shouldn't its monster be too? Lastly, now we're going to talk about Lake Norman monster sightings. Those lucky people who's been able to experience the monster one-on-one, personal intimate. And so the first one, I'm not going to give the people's names. These are just going to be who they are and the years. Whenever I got to looking for the year, it was a little bit confusing. But I'm thinking it was around, some of these were around 2020, 2021. It's some of those, in those general areas is what I believe these sightings have been. It says here, I was paddleboarding in my cove and saw a 6 to 8 foot large dark figure just below the surface, about 10 feet from shore. A few parts were barely above the water, and then all of a sudden it splashed and went underwater. I could not quite describe what I saw. Was it a school of fish, birds diving, a person diving, etc.? 5 minutes later, I'm back at my dock and see the same creature breach the surface of the water close by. Now my second guessing myself has me asking, what is going on? What did I just see? A monster? The next one says, not a sighting, but heard an extremely large being splashing into the water. Now I'm reading exactly verbatim what they have, so some of them are kind of, they're not quite, their typing isn't quite that well. It says, while sitting on my Airbnb dock, my boyfriend and I were about to head in when the sound came from across the dark void of the lake. We had heard no humans talking before this. The ripples were so sudden and thrashing, I got spooked and ran up to the house. I don't know what it was, but what it was huge enough to make a lot of splashing in the water, and there were no human sounds beforehand. This one says, I was swimming and I looked in the water and saw something grayish black. It was a long thing swimming in front of me. I started swimming back to the shore, and when I look back down, I don't see anything. I had almost made it back to shore when something hit me. When I made it back to shore, I saw something big swimming at the top of the water. It suddenly went back underwater. Okay, this next one was just so funny I had to add it in. It says, the dang fish looked dang 200 pounds. He come up out of the water and showed me his teeth. He was jumping around near my boat and pulled some chicken livers and threw it on the line. All of a sudden, that big boy hunked on my line and pulled like all get out. By Joe, it was Normie. I was reeling him in and trying to throw in a quick pinch of wintergreen at the same time. When I was holding it with one arm, he pulled as hard as a four-wheeler stuck in the mud.
It sounds like he would know what that was like.
Normie snapped my pole and left me wondering for the rest of my life. Oh, that was good. Okay, the next one. I was reeling in a bass and went to pull it to the boat, and a thing monster Normie ate my fish. I waited around to see it again, but it never resurfaced. Okay, and lastly it says, what you have is a breeding population of alligator gar. They attain lengths of 10 plus feet, weigh up to 300 pounds plus, have an alligator type of head appearance, regularly come to the surface to gulp air, modified swim bladder. It's that obvious, folks. And so that's the last one. And so I will show, if you'll notice on the screen, what an alligator gar looks like. It very well could be. Now, there's a big debate whether there is alligator gar out here or not. Either way, folks, it very well could be that. They're pretty good sized fish. I will admit that.
Is the gar the fish that has like the
Yeah, it's got a snout on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got it's really kind of wild looking.
with like
and so,
teeth, snout with teeth?
yes.
Well, that would go with what the last guy said about his teeth. So.
Yeah, it very well could be. Very well. But any rate, guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. And so for all you cryptozoologists out there, if you want a good place to come and just kind of sit, fish, and hunt and talk, whatever, and camp, this would be your place. And so maybe one day we'll figure out what this thing is. You guys take care.